Hi, I'm Supersensei, and I'm going to show you something about Super Mario RPG that I bet you didn't know.
A few months ago, Gaijin Goomba and Kerbifer did a video about some of Super Mario RPG's translations and the references they carry. Needless to say, this inspired me to replay the game for perhaps the 50th time or so. But as I played through this time, I noticed something that I hadn't before. Watch closely as Mario does his special attack. A spade appears. In fact, each character has a symbol appear when they cast their specials. Mallow has a club, Bowser has a diamond, Toadstool has a heart, and Geno has a star. After noticing this, I discovered no information as to why they had the symbols. So after doing a lot of research and transforming into an Asian woman and back, I've made a video called Super Mario RPG Meanings Behind the Symbols. I've also thrown in some other gaming trivia that correlates with some of what I'm talking about, so if I go on a tangent, you'll know why. Oh, and one more thing. If you haven't played through this game yet, then there will be spoilers, so don't say I didn't warn you. All of these symbols are representative of the 4 card suits from a standard 52 card deck, also known as a French deck. Now I know you're thinking Geno's star is not one of the 4 symbols. Duh. I know, and I'll get to that, so don't worry. Let me give you a brief history of playing cards. This type of playing cards originated in 9th century China during the Tang Dynasty. Europe started using playing cards in the late 14th century. The 4 suits were originally swords, staves, cups, and coins based on the tarot cards. They were later changed to spades, hearts, clubs, and diamonds, which is the standard use in most of the world. There's a lot more detail to this, and if you'd like to know more, then please visit your local library and read a book. Because learning is fun! So what does this have to do with the game, you ask? Well, the 4 symbols and the star have more meaning to them than most people realize. Now there are double meanings to these symbols, by which I mean there is a tarot card meaning and a French deck meaning. In this video, I'd like to talk about the French deck meanings, and then maybe in a follow-up video, I'll explain the tarot card meanings. The symbols spades, hearts, clubs, and diamonds in the French deck each represent a societal class. Spades are nobility, clubs are peasants, diamonds are merchants, and hearts are clergy. Star is star, and again, I'll explain it later. First, let's discuss Mario and the spade. The spade represents nobility. Mario also happens to be a very noble character. The word noble means possessing, characterized by, or arising from superiority of mind or character or of ideals or morals. Sounds about right to explain his character. Nobility, on the other hand, refers to a social class which possesses acknowledged privileges or eminence above most other classes in a society, usually by birth. Acquisition of sufficient power, wealth, military prowess, or royal favor has occasionally enabled commoners to ascend into nobility. Royal favor is the part you want to focus on here. How many times has Mario saved Princess Toadstool? Roughly 21 times with the current amount of games out. I think that would gain royal favor after a couple times, really. So aside from the occasional invite for cake at the castle, Mario was given his own land, which I'm pretty sure he didn't get by fixing toilets. We know he has his own land because in Super Mario Land 2, Mario has to fight Wario in order to get his land back. Getting back to nobility, another thing to note about nobility is that knights were usually under the nobility caste. They were loyal and fought for the royal family when needed. Mario is considered a knight, though he uses a hammer instead of a sword, and he also has his trusty steed Yoshi. Shigeru Miyamoto, Mario's creator, has stated that Yoshi exists because he wanted Mario to ride something, since Miyamoto is a fan of horse riding. Though, in Super Mario RPG, you can only ride Yoshi for a minigame. But Yoshi does help you in battle if you use Yoshi Cookie, which turns enemies into items. And if that fails, he'll give you a Yoshi Candy instead that recovers health. Mario is also referred to as a knight by 2 different characters in the game, Toadstool and Cullix. Toadstool calls Mario her knight in shining armor after being saved from Booster, and Cullix says, "Greetings, I am Cullix, Dark Knight of Vanda. I have crossed into this dimension to fight for the Dark Mage, but this world is uninhabitable for me and my kind. I must return to my own world. Before I go, though, I would like to challenge your strongest knight." Then after you beat him, he says, "Ah, your spirit is strong. Thank you, brave knight. I will treasure this memento of my journey here. Perhaps in another time, another game, we may have been mortal enemies. Let us part as comrades in arms. Take this. Treasure it as a keepsake of our fight. Farewell, champion knight." This is more than enough evidence to prove that Mario is indeed a knight, and, like in most RPGs, especially the Square ones, the main character tended to be a swordsman, or a knight of some kind. An interesting side note is that Final Fantasy IV is referenced a lot in Super Mario RPG. We have the boss music from Final Fantasy IV. The 4 crystals, the Dark Knight reference, no, this Dark Knight, and the name Cullix is even a reference to Golbez from Final Fantasy IV. Cullix is the same name used for a genus of mosquitoes. Golbez, the main antagonist from Final Fantasy IV, is a reference to Golbasser, a type of fly. From the Japanese to English version of the game, Golbasser is mistranslated as Golbeza, since Golbasser and Golbeza are written the same way in Japanese katakana. In the book Devils by J. Charles Wall, on page 147 it states, "One legend places the scene of the combat between St. George and the dragon in one of a range of caves near the castle of Golbias in Serbia. These caves are infested by the Golbasser fly, a venomous insect resembling a mosquito, and their presence is accounted for by the assertion of the peasants that the decomposed body of the dragon has continued to generate these insects to this day." The Golbasser fly, or flesh fly as they are called, are actually harmless. They get their name from the fact that they breed in decomposing matter. So in Devils, having the flies emerge from a decomposed dragon makes sense. In the remake of Final Fantasy IV for the DS, there is a cutscene that explains the origins of Golbez's name. One more thing to connect the dots here is that Golbez even summons the Shadow Dragon to help him. This truly shows that Golbez was named after the Golbasser fly. My main point in this little segue is that aside from the music and the 4 crystals reference, Cullix and Golbez, both being named after insects, established a greater connection between both of these games. That's right, they're connected because of insects. Okay, I kind of lost track there. What was I talking about? Oh, right. Super Mario RPG. Let's move on to Malo. Malo's symbol is clubs. Clubs represents peasants. Now, peasant can refer to one of many things. It could mean a farmer or laborer of a low class, a coarse, unsophisticated, boorish, uneducated person of little financial means, or characteristic of peasants or their traditions, way of life, and crafts. Well, Malo is not a farmer, so that part is out, but he is uneducated as far as knowledge of the outside world and doesn't have much financially. And when you first meet him, he only had the 1 frog coin, which is why he made so much of a fuss when he lost it. Once you get it back, you meet up with Malo's adoptive grandfather, Frogfucius. Frogfucius tells Malo, "Go with Mario on his adventure and find your real family." This would allow Malo to journey across the world and become more educated of the things that happen in it. That, and Malo will have a chance to find out who his real parents are, since it's very obvious that he is not a frog. Also, think about Frogfucius's name. It's obviously based off of the philosopher Confucius. According to the records of the historian, written by Su Ma Jin, Confucius was born into royalty. However, some contemporary historians, like this guy, are skeptical as to the record's accuracy. Oh wait, he passed away last year, so he's not a contemporary historian. He's a part of history now. Anyway, according to Encyclopaedia Britannica, Confucius's ancestors were probably members of the aristocracy who had become virtual, poverty-stricken commoners by the time of his birth. Going by this theory, he was raised as a peasant. He even worked as a shepherd and cowherd at one point. Sounds like peasant jobs, don't you think? With that being said, since Frogfucius is supposed to be parallel to Confucius, it would make sense that he would live a very peasant lifestyle and not have very many possessions. Plus, Frogfucius gives Mallow the froggy stick that looks a lot like a shepherd's staff. See this island? This is where Frogfucius resides. Even if Mallow's living quarters weren't specifically on this island, he would have had to live on the land because all of the other tadpoles live in the water, and the only other anthropomorphic adult frog you see is in Seaside Town. And I don't see any kind of space reserved for Mallow, let alone any type of possessions, so I think he was also raised with a very peasant lifestyle. One thing that has always bugged me is that you'd honestly think Mallow would have figured out that he wasn't a tadpole because he didn't even look like one, not to mention the fact that he can walk on dry land and can't even jump. In addition to that, Mallow's back story is never explained. How was he separated from his parents? Seriously, I just replayed this entire game and found nothing that explained this. There is some fan speculation that Valentina was an advisor to the king and queen and she threw Mallow out in an attempt to usurp the king. There's a couple other theories, but this one makes the most sense. But why is it never explained? My only guess is that it was explained in the Japanese version, but due to the lack of text space in the English version, they either didn't bother to explain it or just forgot about it. Sidetracked again, I know, but this time it was at least relevant to the character. Let's move on to Gino, or Heart 8th Note exclamation question mark, which is his real name. Gino is a special case because at first glance he does not fit into the normal 4 suits like the other characters with his star popping up. But he actually does. See this card? This is a Joker. So is this, and this. Did you notice what they all had in common? That's right, a star. And what symbol did Gino have? A star! As the Joker in the party, he's not what you'd call a wild card, but as a Joker, he does present himself as a trump card, seeing as how Jokers can be used as trump cards in games, and they can bend the rules in your favor. A trump card is something that gives a person or group a decisive or winning advantage. Now, when you first meet Gino, he explains how the Star Road is broken and that the star pieces are needed to put it back together. If Gino hadn't shown up, Mario and Mallow wouldn't have known what to do with the star pieces. But at the same time, a subordinate of Smithy runs off to go tell Smithy of this information. So the one advantage Mario had is now on equal terms with Smithy. There's more to Gino's star other than just the Jokers though. While I was making this video, and once again being Asian, I stumbled upon what's called a 5-suited deck or a star deck. It has the 4 original suits and the 5th is a star. The star suit can either count as a black or red suit depending on the game played, which again makes it a trump card in certain situations. In fact, the reason why the Joker has a star is because it was one of the only trump cards to survive the short-lived popularity of the 5-suit deck for bridge playing in 1938. But, as far as 5-suit decks go, the star isn't as commonly used since the eagle/green suit are more commonly used as the 5th suit. The last and other extremely obvious reason why Gino has the star symbol is that he himself is a star, who came down to the heavens to get the star pieces back. Now there's a whole lot more to explain Gino's symbol involving the tarot cards, but like I said earlier, that will be another video. You're probably thinking, what wacky side info is he going to give about Gino? Well, there is a connection between Gino and Pinocchio. There's the obvious part that they are wooden dolls, but did you know that Pino is both Spanish and Italian for pine tree? This would confirm what type of wood Pinocchio is, especially since Pinocchio means pine eyes. Another thing is that they both have a similar story. Pinocchio came to life because of a wish made on a star, and Gino came to life because of a star spirit trying to fix the star road in order to make wishes. The biggest connection, though, is that Gino is a combination of the names Geppetto and Pinocchio, taking the ge from Geppetto and the no from Pinocchio. Now, I honestly haven't found any information confirming this, so this is all speculation on my part. Our wonderful King Koopa, or Bowser as most of us call him, has the symbol of diamond, which represents merchant. Now, when you hear the word merchant, do you envision something like this? Or this? Or even this? Well, you could think of Bowser as a merchant of death. But he really doesn't kill anyone. In fact, the first game he's in, which is Super Mario Bros., the instruction booklet states that he turned the mushroom people into stones, bricks, and horsehair plants. Wait a minute. Bricks? You mean all those blocks that Mario just haphazardly destroys? He's killing mushroom people! You don't see a toad flying out of the bricks. No! They are now in pieces! And for what? 50 points? Anyway, my point is, Bowser's kidnapping doesn't really hurt anyone. He maybe roughs up the castle a little bit and takes off with the princess, but you don't see him beating up toads or anything. In fact, no one really even tries to stop him at all. If you watch this video by game theorist MatPat, he explains how every Mario game is staged, and if you believe in this theory, to sum it up, Bowser is being paid to kidnap the princess, Mario gets to play hero, and the princess gets some excitement in her humdrum life. Heck, even Mario uses this kidnapping service at least once himself. Now going by that theory, Bowser is a merchant in kidnapping. But I think he's also helping to stimulate the economy. Not only does he kidnap, but by destroying buildings like in Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, this helps create jobs. What if the Toads were really good at building, and they were bored until one day Bowser comes down and destroys the castle? This makes Bowser a wonderful asset, in that he can be called upon at any time to help get some excitement in the lives of the Mushroom Kingdom. Bowser is even called upon during Mario and Toadstool's vacations in Super Mario World and in Super Mario Sunshine. I guess Mario likes to fight Bowser in a new location every once in a while. Not only that, but in the Mario Party games, Bowser is called upon to be the villain that needs to be defeated from time to time as well. He's even called upon as a natural disaster in Sim City. Bowser must be making good money with all the jobs he has. It's too bad he's probably seen as such a bad guy. It's a good thing he has Bad Anon available to him. Let me give you more evidence about him being a merchant. Have you ever heard of the Merchant Navy? Well, a merchant navy, or merchant marine, is the fleet of merchant vessels that are registered in a country which varies in capacity. Seafarers on the merchant vessels who hold various military-like ranks and responsibilities. Bowser has his own navy of airships, and he sends out his various troops to stop Mario and friends from getting to their goal of saving the princess. So what Bowser is really selling is more of a role-playing situation, since he and his troops all play as bad guys so a princess and her plumber can have some adventure in their lives. This would make Bowser less of a merchant of death or kidnapping. Rather, he is more of a merchant of villainy, or even acting for that matter. Then, when Mario defeats Bowser once again, they all get together and go golfing, play some tennis, race karts, or compete in the Olympics against the Sonic characters for some reason. Last, but not least, we talk about Princess Toadstool with the heart. She has the heart because she's a girl, and girls like things like hearts and rainbows and unicorns, right? Stereotypes aside, she does fit the role of heart perfectly because the heart represents clergy. Now, she's obviously not Pope of the Mushroom Faith or anything like that, although she could be seen as an important figurehead in the Mushroom Kingdom. Yes, there's the obvious thing like princess in her title, but there's another thing I bet you didn't think of. Why is she the only human in Mushroom Kingdom? Yes, Mario and Luigi live there too in some of the games, but still, why is a human running the show? Perhaps from divine will? Or maybe the Toads really don't know how to take care of themselves. But there's also a Toad Counselor, so obviously someone knows how to help run things. But I'm more curious of the fact that Toadstool has a grandma. Did someone crossbreed people with mushrooms? Because I thought they would turn out like this. Moving on. Now if I go by game logic, and I mean game logic, a cleric, priest, or bishop, which are all members of a clergy, are generally healers and use divine powers in the Dungeons & Dragons franchise. You know who else uses these powers? Final Fantasy's White Mage, which was created by SQUARESOFT but was based off of Dungeons & Dragons' White Wizard, so it comes around full circle. Toadstool was based off of a White Mage, and White Mage was based off of a cleric in Dungeons & Dragons, and Toadstool has a heart symbol which represents clergy. Interesting connections, huh? Like the White Mage, Toadstool's greatest asset is her healing specials, and the rest of her specials are all status-inducing with the exception of Psych Bomb. Toadstool's specials are most likely an homage to the White Mage since she only has one offensive spell, Psych Bomb, much like how White Mage's only offensive spell is Holy. The Psych Bomb could also show how Toadstool has her crazy mood swings like in Super Princess Peach. Seriously, how did she get from this to this? Another thing to note about Toadstool is that she follows the stereotype of if she's a girl in an RPG, she uses magic, much like how I explained Mario being a knight was pretty common in most games. This is especially true during the Super Nintendo era, where in most SQUARESOFT games, the female characters tended to use magic. Luca, Marl, Purim, Rosa, Rydia, Realm, Celis, and even Terra, who broke the mold by being the main character in Final Fantasy VI, was still recognized primarily for her magic. Toadstool not only fills the damsel in distress trope, but after her rescue, she becomes the White Magician Girl. This makes her take a support role in battle. Though she can still deal some decent damage with her attacks and obviously her Psych Bomb. She is also caring and compassionate towards her friends and is happy to heal them. Not to mention, she's also filling the role of the love interest of the main character. Well, that's all I really have to say about the Mario's party in the game. Now, with all the information I gave about the symbols, I just want to make it clear that this doesn't 100% confirm why each character has his or her symbol. I just wanted to point out the connections and see what you guys think. I do plan on making another video about all the symbols, but in the tarot card version, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.
Super Mario.